All right, we are back for round number 6 at Swiss Magic Masters Legacy Tournament. We have the players shuffling up, and we will be receiving the deck lists shortly. I already see some Punishing Fire and Dark decks on the right-hand player's side. And this looks... Oh, this is Patrick Wild, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, and he's playing the Selesnya version of the deck, which is quite interesting to me because it does have a beatdown plan, so it kind of functions like an aggro loam.
Right.
But it also uses a ton of tutors, so it has Crop Rotation, Elvish Rejuvenator, and Knight of the Reliquary, all to search up the Thespian stage combo.
Right.
And
And some
toolbox.
utility lands,
Yeah,
right? Okay.
utility
And
toolbox.
what's like the advantage over a traditional aggro loam deck if you only play, like, why would you not want to have Punishing Fire plus, like, I don't know, all the variety of tools? Like, some decks have been splashing blue, so, like, Uro would be quite useful maybe in those decks to grind it out.
So I think the main advantage is speed.
Straight up speed, okay.
Yeah, I think you can assemble the combo on turn 2, theoretically.
So you make the token on turn 2.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you also have this resilience that you don't rely on your lands winning the game for you as much, but you do rely on the graveyard a lot. Because both the Rejuvenator and the Knight of the Reliquary are just tiny creatures if you don't have access to a graveyard.
Right.
And I've actually seen a game with Patrick where he played against the Upson control deck, a Nick Fit version.
Right.
And he was going in for lethal by sacrificing all his lands to a Sylvan Safekeeper, which we already see on the battlefield, to pump up his Knight of the Reliquary for maximum damage. And his opponent just casually played an Endurance and essentially removed his graveyard, so
And
his
the
Knight of the Reliquary was a 2/2, which then got blocked, and he was left with one permanent, which was Sylvan Safekeeper, and the game was over.
Oh, that's big sad.
So you are basically a creature graveyard kind of deck that also has a combo deck and tons of utility.
Right.
And I don't know how much Patrick has tested with this particular deck, but he's an excellent player. He's one of the best players I know, and he always takes his time to come up with the perfect line of play.
Oh, line of play. Okay, sorry. Yeah, definitely.
So introduce us to the other deck, please.
So it's Lorenzo Marinuzzi, which is playing... I'd consider it a lands deck with 3 main deck endurance, and then a huge bunch of lands for exploration and 3 Volacode explorations. Yeah, Mox Diamonds, 1 Expedition Map, 1 Shadow Spear, interestingly enough. That's some neat
so
tech.
the Shadow Spear is, so I guess he plays Ursa Saga as well, right?
He definitely plays Ursa Saga
Yeah,
4 of like most lands deck these days.
He plays for Ursa Saga. So the Shadow Spear is basically an utility toolbox kind of thing he can get with Ursa Saga. And the idea behind is that Delver players sometimes go for True Name Nemesis as their main condition against lands, because lands typically is kind of slow and it doesn't interact with True Name Nemesis at all. Usually you only tap down all the attackers with Maze of If, and you kill the small creatures with Punishing Fire, but True Name Nemesis cannot be
blocked or
cannot
targeted.
be dealt with by the land stack without the Shadow Spear. So Shadow Spear can...
That's interesting. My first thought was it would be rather for like against burn decks or like aggressive decks to kind of get some sort of life gain as well. Like,
you think he's just equipping the tokens from the saga?
Yeah, for example.
That could be an option as well.
Or like, I mean, that's probably super iffy, but if Marital H is not lethal, you equip it on it, and it can trample as well, right? Does it? Lifelink? Trample?
Let's look at the card. I'm not sure. Let's check it out. I don't think it's going to be irrelevant in this matchup.
No, probably not.
I think this matchup, both decks attack from a kind of similar angle, and I'm looking forward to see how the matchup is going to evolve. I'm kind of worried for Patrick because Lorenzo is running the endurance main deck, which I mentioned before can be quite difficult
Yeah, but
to deal with.
I think in terms of comboing, Patrick is especially with the Sylvan Safekeeper is in a big advantage because he can protect it a lot better. Like even if there's a crop for Caracas, if he has enough lands in the Safekeeper on the battlefield, he can easily go for the combo.
He can
still.
protect the Marid Lage, but he cannot protect the lands.
Yeah, that's correct.
And both decks are well equipped with dealing with each other's lands. So.
Yeah, especially with crop rotation at instant speed. There's a lot of.
All right, let's check out Shadow Spear. So it reads: equipped creature gets +1/+1 and trample and lifelink. Permanents your opponents control lose hexproof and indestructible. And so it doesn't even work against True Name Nemesis because it's protection and not hexproof.
Interesting. So that cannot even be. So it must be like the lifelink, really? Or what else has hexproof that we? There's no like really prominent hexproof creature in Legacy that comes to mind, right?
I can't think of anything either. No.
I mean, Troll Ascendant or Ascetic, but that's not really a card. So I guess
It's not a card I've seen. Yeah, I think it might be purely for the life gain for a burn matchup or something.
Yeah. Okay. Or against Murktides or something like that. That you can actually get in.
You have Maze of Ith, I think, which is a much better solution.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to outpace a big Murktide.
Yeah, that's true. That's probably very true. All right. Interesting situation. Lance player just took his turn. Ooh, has a stage. That's also a really funny interaction. If there's two stages on each side of the battlefield and one Dark Depths comes in, you obviously can copy it from both sides and then both can make their token.
That's true. So you basically don't want to draw Dark Depths. You
Play
want to
or draw?
You want to have Thespian stage
right.
no matter
Always,
what.
yeah, at all times.
And
yeah.
Dark Depths is sometimes good for you and sometimes good for your opponent. So it's not really a land you want to see in your hand necessarily.
Yeah. How many Dark Depths plays Patrick? Is it 4, straight up 4, or
he plays
shave on
3?
It? 3. Okay. No Living Wishes in either deck, right? A card I really love, but it's unfortunately usually probably just way too bad.
No, Patrick obviously has the toolbox from Green Sun Zenith. So he does get tools like Excavator, Knight of Autumn to deal with pesky enchantments and artifacts.
Yeah.
But he doesn't run Living Wish. It's not necessary in his deck, I don't think. He
No,
can tutor everything he needs.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
And on the side of Lorenzo with his more traditional lands deck, I don't see too much tutor action going on. There's only 4 crop rotation, right? And 1 expedition map, which he can get with the Saga. That's the other target.
Yeah.
It's only Shadow Spear and expedition map, surprisingly.
But he can't even search for the Shadow Spear, right? Because it costs 2.
No, it costs 1.
It costs 1, sorry. Okay. The equipping is 2. I'm sorry. Alright, so he searched up end of turn the Dark Depths. So he thinks he's ready to battle, I would say.
Yeah, apparently. I'm not sure what his game plan is. Maybe we can check in his hand. No,
there's a Bob, there's lanes that he plays, there's his shoulder, which maybe he doesn't want us to see it.
No, he's just in the tank.
Yeah, definitely.
Typical Patrick situation where he just considers all his options, goes through his deck list in his mind.
Yeah, that's the love on Legacy, right? Because there's so many lines from here, and then for each line there's a possible reaction from your opponent, so there's so many things you can consider.
And he does have many one-offs in his main deck, which he can tutor up with the Elvish Rejuvenator, which is online.
Right. So yeah, basically there's possible Caracas on the battlefield, there's possible Wasteland on the battlefield, definitely. There's and his opponent, he could go for the combo. which he doesn't, I think. It's a really tense spot. I have played some black-green depths a few years ago, and I had this situation against Celestia depths. It's just you have to be so careful to not play something you don't realize what's happening 100%, or you just lose straight up.
Lorenzo actually opting to discard his own Dark Depth, so he thinks
He doesn't need it, right?
he doesn't need it, and even if he gets to do the combo, as you mentioned, the Elvish Rejuvenator still has options to deal with a Marred Lage token.
Yeah. How does it work if both target? So let's say Patrick starts by making a 20/20, and then Lorenzo responds by copying the Dark Depths. How does it exactly work? Do both get the Dark Depths, or like if it's white, vice versa? If Patrick,
No, if
do both get the Dark Depths?
if Lorenzo tries to copy the Dark Depths, and in response Patrick targets his own Dark Depths and copies it, the legendary rule applies and he will sacrifice it. And since the Dark Depths is no longer a target on the battlefield, the ability will not resolve.
It will fizzle. I wasn't
yeah.
sure if Stage just keeps track of it and would still.
It
copy.
does, but the target is no longer legal, so
Okay.
the entire ability fizzles. Knight of Autumn from hand, not the ideal draw and not the ideal target. You want to definitely kill a Valakut Exploration or something along these lines with it, but I guess he doesn't have any other place. And Punishing Fire coming from Lorenzo.
Yeah, he wants to keep this Rejuvenator around, I'm pretty sure. He could sack
so
just
well.
a bunch of lands if he wanted, or could combo, or there are plenty of options, but
I don't think he can go for the combo because it means that he's tapping out and he's playing against Thespian Stage and Wasteland.
yeah,
so.
we are in his end step, right?
But thanks to Stillman Safekeeper, he's really safe.
Yeah.
So Lorenzo will have a very hard time copying this Dark Depths because I can always sacrifice it to Stillman Safekeeper to kind of protect his lands,
Right. Which sounds weird, but yeah.
Yeah, protecting it by
sacrificing it.
sacrificing.
So he activates it in response. I don't really see the graveyard. Does he have cards in his grave?
I don't think
Not
so.
really, right? He cast the Green Suns that was shuffled in. He didn't have a fetch, which he probably would like to have.
So he could just give it protection because there's no growth follow-up, but he opts to go for another Thespian Stage. Interesting. So he thinks he doesn't need the Rejuvenator, or he's not confident that he can.
Let's see, Punishing Fire hasn't resolved yet. Wait, okay, so there is a graveyard we don't see on the screen. Either that or Rejuvenator should die. Right?
He's still in the tank. I don't know.
No, Punishing Fire resolved, right?
So that must mean that Elvish Rejuvenator is large enough.
Yeah.
How many lands does it need to grow? 3?
3.
In the grave?
Yeah. Yeah, they're talking, you can tell. Okay, there's a crop rotation in response to the Wasteland. Yeah, and Patrick's grave is not on the screen, we're afraid. Grabbing his own Wasteland. Remember, everything is making mana thanks to this Yavimaya, Cradle of the Growth.
Yeah, on both sides.
It's a really cool card. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's an Urborg, but in the right colors.
Yeah. Is this another crop? Yeah, looks like it. But what do you want to crop for? You don't need a Dark Depths. There's a Wasteland on there. Oh, right. So,
So
with
now he's just forcing Patrick to sacrifice the Dark Depths, the Safekeeper.
yes. What is the last card on Patrick's battlefield? Do you remember? Is it the Mox?
I think it's a Yavimaya as well.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Yavimaya on both sides.
Oh, no, this is Sylvan Safekeeper, right?
Yes.
Sorry. So he lets it. Okay.
That's a result. That is interesting. Really interesting.
And now the crop rotation resolves. There's a Juke above. And he's scooping it out. What? Scratch. That was interesting. But I guess we're going to sideboarding.
What just happened? Can you show me the wording of Thespian stage? I'm curious.
Yes, of course.
Because in my opinion, there's no reason for Patrick to not sacrifice the Dark Depths in response.
That's probably wrong, right?
No, it's a targeted ability. It should
Targeted
fizzle.
ability. I remember something that there was that it would like keep track of the target even if it's not there anymore, but I'm not 100% sure on this.
Odd.
Very odd.
So what do you expect from the sideboard? I'm looking at Patrick's sideboard, and he's down 1-0, so Lorenzo is leading. And I think his sideboard is mostly against blue decks, so I can see Choke, Whale of Summer, Deafening Silence. So he wants to combat the combo decks and relies on his main deck to deal with the mid-range aggro control piles.
Right, the fair decks. It's pretty similar for Lorenzo. He has his commander. No, it's not a commander, it's his companion actually, Kahira, which he probably won't bring in. He has a cage, which he definitely will bring in. I hope so, at least. And then there was there's a pithing needle, which also is coming in 100%. Then Pyroblast and Red Blast, which we don't need. Sphere of Resistances we don't need, and then Force of Vigors 4 off. I could see 1 or 2 coming in, because you probably expect like Sylvan Libraries and maybe some vials. Sorry, needles, not vials.
So Needle is
but not sure.
interesting because they're naming mostly the same targets at
Right.
the
Rejuvenator
landfront,
and Sylvan
yeah.
Safekeeper are quite the targets too.
Yeah, exactly. So I think Lorenzo is definitely bringing in his Needle, but I could see Patrick not opting to go for Needle, even though he has one in the sideboard as well. 2 actually, because all the cards he can shut off with the Needle he plays himself, right?
Definitely. A tricky thing, and then you usually draw the cards you needled right after you needled them. Yeah, I think it's kind of a racy situation with a lot of weird interaction between the lands they both play. Have you played any Turbo Depths at all yourself?
Of course not.
Of course not.
Why you even ask?
You're rather the Source Splash Edge person that feels happy when it can plow like 20.
Yeah, I mean, I have sorted quite a few hard age tokens, yeah.
I can imagine. Right, they're ready to go.
I enjoy playing the lands a lot.
Lands?
Against lands.
Against lands,
Yeah.
really. Yeah, I find it interesting because it's kind of a super different game. And a lot of your cards become
It's
different.
a very different angle to Magic than your typical fair deck.
Yeah, similar to like Dredge or
Yeah, but Dredge is more of an all-in kind of deck with a very explosive start.
True.
And Lens is kind of, I'm doing things and eventually I'm getting there.
Right.
So there's a ton of interaction, but it's unusual interaction. So it's
Yeah.
more of like I'm tapping down your attackers, or
Yeah.
untapping
Yeah,
them
yeah.
rather.
And you have to be
denying your mana base,
Right.
but I'm also developing my mana base. So it has a very different play
you have to
style.
be very mindful what land you play actually when. All right, we start off with a Rejuvenator and a Dryad Arbor.
So really strong opening from Patrick. Let's hope he is not met with one of the two Punishing Fires.
And the Mox Diamond. That would be that. He's gonna cast what? A needle? No, a map. Okay, he has an exploration map. Expedition map. No, that's
yeah.
And we're gonna see follow up. Rejuvenator is such a strong card. Or like I just like the flavor of it in general. It's so I think it's really good.
It's also a surprisingly strong beatdown creature.
3/4 is really good stats.
For a 1-mana spell, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost a blue, green Delver. Almost.
So Patrick opting not to protect his mana base with the Elvish Rejuvenator and rather stealing a damage.
Yeah, if you don't see an exploration, like he just played his Thespian stage. And then if he'd wasteland him next turn, he'd be so far behind, no? Like mana wise. Don't know, like feels to me that would be
I don't know if
really
it
good.
matters in this matchup. But I can understand him going for Knight of the Reliquary.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, and the 3-man deck is true, right? So he didn't have to board in any graveyard because he has it main. Playing 3 endurances. Really good card, endurance.
Amazing card. Why does it have reach? I don't understand.
They felt it wasn't good enough, I guess. I mean, why did they print? Oh no, let's not start with this bit. He's giving a long thought on his land drop. Doing some math, following his fingers.
So apparently Lorenzo agrees with you that he will get too far behind if he wastelands on this turn. So this is just.
I mean, you want to correct the map, right?
It depends on his hand, but apparently, yeah, he does.
And have protection for the Dark Depths anyway. Now he's just passing without attacking?
Yeah, because he's threatening to put in the Marid Lage.
Yeah, but he can have it either way, right? Or no, not even either way, he needs to.
He could attack with the Rejuvenator.
Right.
But I'm guessing he's thinking about maybe Needle for the Reliquary, so he wants to have the second option.
Okay.
And I think he will just go for the combo right now because the Wasteland is tapped. I would presume.
Right. This is still in his end step, right? Okay, so either crop rotation into Caracas or bust if he combos now. Or Maze of Ith, actually. Is he? Yeah, he's doing it. So floating white, sacking the plains to the night.
They did the right thing by letting Lorenzo reveal his choice of forest.
Right.
So he can safely assume there is no Caracas involved.
At that point, right. Making the Lage. Merit. This is during his end step, right?
Yeah, and even if the Marid Lage gets bounced here by a Caracas or something, or a Maze of Ith,
he can crack for like 8 next turn.
He can attack with a big knight,
yeah. And 3/4 Rejuvenator.
Yes.
He found a Mox Diamond. He has plenty of cards in hand. Let's see if I get this done right. Yes. Forest, Volacute Exploration, Punishing Fire,
Saga.
Mox Diamond, and then there's a bunch of green. I think there's at least one crop in there, but I'm not sure.
Is that a Whale of Summer?
Would you? What? No, he doesn't have a whale, and the 75 does.
What's the card third from the left?
1, 2, 3, Loam, I think.
Well,
Yeah, it's
that
Loam.
is a good card, but not the one
You need right now. He has a crop rotation though.
And it's odd to me that he opted to go for Forest and not the fetch land with Loam in hand.
Yeah, very true. Maybe he felt like he needed some protection. Trying to figure out his turn.
It was on end step, so there is no Piping Needle coming down. So what are
Yeah,
you
that's
protecting from?
I don't know, some wasteland shenanigans, but or
Wasteland
maybe
doesn't
he
do
wanted
anything
to
against
somehow
the-
get live to get over the 20, but no, that doesn't make sense either.
Wasteland doesn't do anything to.
Yeah.
the
It's
fetch
just
land.
I don't know why he would not choose the fetch, honestly. Because then he could get back 2 lands right now, and then he could play 2. Oh, he already played land. Sorry. Okay.
So there's crop rotation, which means we might see a
What? No exploration?
Caracas.
Why doesn't he play his stuff?
Why?
I mean, you need to leave up the green, right? But are you trying to represent more, or? And I wouldn't let him untap actually. But I guess this is a tricky situation still. Yeah, especially if he had gotten fetch, he could have loamed and get a green up, but maybe I don't understand his thoughts at all.
Yeah, I don't see the play either. I think the only thing he can do this turn is crop rotation Caracas. But why wouldn't you do that in your own turn and play exploration and loam and get the saga going?
I agree. But there's the must crop rotation. He doesn't want to die. Giving it a long thought. Sacrificing his forest.
So Sajiri Step does give protection from
Colors, not colorless.
So it doesn't protect from Caracas.
It doesn't, no.
And we suddenly have a fair game on our hands. This is what we meant when we said that both decks have perfect answers for each other's all the time. Like
For the combo, yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Why did he crack with the Reliquary though, right? I mean, he wanted to obviously to have like some kind of protection, but he could have gotten in for. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He could have cracked for 10 with his.
With the creatures, yes.
Yeah, even 11 if you counted Rider, which he shouldn't do probably, but that would be lethal next turn, right? Oh, there's a ooze.
There's an ooze apparently.
Screws Arena.
Still not a reason not to attack with the Rejuvenator, I think.
Yes.
But this Punishing Fire doesn't do anything.
No.
Knight can sack the Dryad Arbor for a green source.
And then eat it. This is
There's
the
no
step
creature
though,
to,
right?
to eat, so...
Well, the Dryad Arbor.
Right, true.
But he doesn't care, I guess. and wants to keep his lands protected, I presume. As there's a wasteland looming.
He might
but
still lose to Alive from the Loam now, right?
yeah, like you want, like, why would you play the ooze if you? Because like, why didn't he grab forest? And then just it's like the same outcome now, with the difference that he doesn't have an ooze in play and he doesn't have one more life and no forest.
Yeah, maybe he missed that right arbor would be creature in the graveyard to exile. Same way I did.
Possibly. Ooh, that's gonna bite him if he realizes it and missed it. But maybe maybe I'm missing something. That's completely possible.
Opting for the wasteland.
I think he's playing super scared, no?
Maybe Lorenzo actually didn't go for the Life from the Loam because he wanted to protect it alone, and Patrick is not playing around the Loam at all. And he's going to run into Loam exploration this turn.
Yeah, rip.
So
and
this is actually...
He could have had the Bajuka Bog,
so
right?
This is actually best case. Even though we questioned the line of play Lorenzo went for, this is actually the best possible outcome for him at the moment.
I agree.
He does have Life from the Loam. Ooze is gone. Patrick opted to fetch up a wasteland.
Right. He can cast exploration and right, he's just showing again, so Patrick can note down the lands he picked up.
I think Patrick's only option is to try to be as aggressive as possible with his creatures and just hope that Lorenzo doesn't draw Endurance. Endurance is GG in my opinion at this stage of the game.
Yeah.
Shrinks down both
right, now he's cracking in that he doesn't have an option anymore. Should be something 10-11-ish damage. Oh, Knight is such a good card. I love Knight of the Reliquary. Ooh, he has a crop. Ooh. And what is he getting? A Jukabog? What do you think?
That would be the safest option, but it could be Maze Cliff as well. Slow down the clock.
No, it's Bog, okay.
Yeah, that stings. That was a top deck crop rotation as well.
Yep. A very, very good draw. And a card in general in either of those decks, as it represents like 20 to 30 cards in your deck that you can instantly put into play.
Because of Life from the Loam, you don't really sacrifice the land. Or even better, sometimes you sacrifice a card like Bajuka Bog, which you can cast again.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. It's very strong. Going for the dredge. Finding a Loam in the Grove. Nothing too relevant. No stages yet. No Dark Depths yet.
Grove actually is relevant because the creatures are
You're right.
1/2 and 2/2 at the moment,
right.
so Punishing Fire is very much alive.
He does, but it's a Valakut exploration, right? He doesn't have one yet. Or is there one in the graveyard? I think there's one Punishing Fire in the graveyard.
There is a Punishing Fire. It ate the ooze.
Right, yeah. Exploration. Beautiful old artwork.
So the tides have really turned in this matchup.
Yeah, I thought like Patrick had it in like 2 turns, either by Merit Lage or by attacking with creatures. But
he's given him a lot of time, and time is all the land deck needs.
I felt he played too careful, yeah. something I often do. Like you try to play around things, and then you start playing around all the things by doing nothing, and eventually you just lose because you stop doing anything.
Yeah, but that's pretty much what happened here.
Mm.
I don't think there with Lorenzo's draw there was a way to actually win this game. Because of
You don't think so?
I don't think so, no.
I
I question the wasteland that he got with the Knight of the Reliquary. But apart from that, maybe he could have gotten in with a few more damage.
I think he could have Lorenzo at like 6 if he cracked in the turn.
Yes, that's true, but then he cannot activate the ooze. Which he didn't,
Was
of course,
this the
but
same?
he had
this
the
was
option.
the same turn, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So, but he still
So
he
it's
would have a
only-
news. He could have started exiling the life from the loams, etc.
Yes.
No, but yeah. Again, like it's a what if situation, and we don't know how.
Yeah,
how it
and
turned
we
out.
knew Lorenzo's hand, and
Yeah,
we
yeah,
knew
of
he had
course.
loam and
Crop rotation. Like cracking for just 3, I guess. Passing the turn back. Not really drawing too well, I guess.
well, all he needs is a land, right? And creatures become huge again.
Yeah. Loaming up. Yeah, or he could find a bog with the land, like as long as it's a forest or a plains. Obviously, now triggering his exploration and Volocot exploration, or using them.
I'm not sure Pachuca Bog is the card you want in this situation, though, because I think loam has already gotten all the value Lorenzo needs.
Yeah, it's too late now. Yeah, I agree. But yeah, like again, there's very complicated turns, right? And then like I find it funny when you think about the turns afterwards. I feel like you always miss a little detail you had there, right? And then you always think, "Oh, I could have done it a lot better." But sometimes you just miss something that you never really saw. It's sorry, by the way, it's round 6.
Yes, it's round 6. There will be another round of Swiss and then top 8.
Right. Yeah. Complex turn there, I think. Really easy to do mistakes.
Punishing Fire finally cleaning up the board of Patrick, and Patrick is running out of lands, out of creatures.
Out of resources.
The cards in hand apparently do nothing in this situation. Guess he cannot cast them. Tough spot to be in.
I wonder what he has. You know which table this was? Was this table 1? No, probably, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, and he scoops it up.
Scoops it up.
What a shame.
Well-deserved win from from Lorenzo.
Yep.
I think I didn't understand the line of play he went for with the slow rolling of the loam, but in hindsight it was actually perfect. And I think everything else he played flawlessly.
Yep.
And we are almost certain that the game 1 was a mess up from Patrick, right? And Lorenzo just went for it anyway, hoping he might miss the play, and he missed it.
Just play to your outs, or I mean, yeah,
Play the cards you have.
Let people make mistakes.
People to make mistakes, yeah.
That's always a good idea. All right, we gonna see if we have a backup match at the ready, as this was a rather quick one. But it's always a bit iffy because we don't want to disrupt people while they're playing their match. So it's usually either between game 1 and or 2 where they can come back, where we can switch tables. Sorry. So give us a few minutes and we'll check that, and we'll
be back shortly, or with the last round of Swiss before the top 8. you guys.
Correct. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned.